Some pets give nothing but love, but what happens when that love turns into something truly terrifying? From furry friends to fierce predators, the bond between people and their pets is usually all about trust and love. But sometimes, that bond breaks in ways you'd never expect. Today, we're diving into 15 bone-chilling stories of pets that didn't just turn on their owners. They became their worst nightmare. From pit bulls to pythons, and even a massive hippo weighing over a ton, these stories only get wilder as we go. Get ready, because these stories are not for the faint-hearted. 1. 2 pit bulls kill their owner. It seemed like just another normal day when Bethany Lynn Stevens took her 2 pit bulls for a walk in the woods of rural Virginia. But what happened next was beyond horrifying. Hours passed, and when Bethany didn't return, her father grew worried and searched for her. In the woods, he came across a sight he would never forget: her 2 dogs standing guard over what he first thought was an animal carcass. But the awful truth? It was his daughter. Bethany, who was just 5 feet 1 inch tall, had been overpowered by the dogs, who together weighed twice as much as she did. The sheriff called the scene absolutely grisly, saying it was unlike anything he'd seen in his 40 years on the job. Bethany had defensive wounds on her hands and arms, showing she tried to fight back. But the attack had been brutal. Her throat and face were targeted first, leaving her unconscious, and the dogs kept attacking after that. What's even more chilling is that these dogs weren't known to be aggressive. Friends described them as loving, friendly pets that would kill you with kisses. So, what changed? Did something unseen trigger the attack? Or does this show how unpredictable even the most loyal pets can be? As unsettling as this story is, the next one takes things to a new level. 2. International footballer mauled by his dogs. Philemon Molala, a former Zambian international football star, raised his 3 dogs from the time they were puppies. To him, they weren't just pets, they were his companions, his protectors. But one day, everything went horribly wrong. It started like any other day. His wife heard the dogs barking in the backyard but didn't think much. They barked all the time, usually at people walking by. Hours later, when she finally went outside, she found a scene straight out of a nightmare. Her husband was lying in the garden, lifeless, attacked, and mauled by the very dogs he cared for. The news shocked everyone who knew him. How could these loyal dogs suddenly turn on the man who raised them? 3. Hippopotamus kills its owner. Imagine keeping a hippo as a pet. For Marius Els, a former army major from South Africa, this wasn't just a dream, it was his life. Humphrey the hippo, who weighed a staggering 1.2 tons, had been rescued as a calf after a flood and raised by Els. He treated Humphrey like family, often calling him his son, and saying their bond was unbreakable. But no amount of love could change the fact that hippos are some of the most dangerous animals in Africa. Tragically, this became all too real. One day, Humphrey turned on Els in a violent attack, biting him to death. His body was later found in a river near the farm. And here's the thing. This wasn't the first time Humphrey had shown his dangerous side. There were reports of a father and son being chased up a tree by the massive hippo, and livestock on the farm had also been killed. Despite these warning signs, Els always believed their connection was strong enough to keep him safe. Humphrey's story is a heartbreaking reminder of the thin line between love and danger when it comes to wild animals. You can't change their instincts, no matter how much affection you show. As terrifying as this is, the next story takes that unpredictability to a new level, where loyalty meets betrayal in a way that feels straight out of a nightmare. 4. Farmer eaten by his hogs. Terry Vance Garner had a deep bond with his animals, but this connection ended in tragedy. A Vietnam War veteran living on a small farm in rural Oregon, Garner had found peace in taking care of his land and raising animals. But in the fall of 2012, a simple trip to feed his hogs turned into a horrifying nightmare. When Garner didn't return, his family went looking for him. What they found was beyond shocking. Inside the hog pen were only his dentures and a few remains. The rest of his body had been eaten by the very hogs he cared for every day. Garner, who was in his 70s, had a history with these animals. A year earlier, one of the sows had bitten him when he accidentally stepped on her piglet. But instead of getting rid of her, Garner chose to let her stay, showing compassion despite the danger. Little did he know that decision would come back to haunt him in the worst way imaginable. Experts could only guess what might have caused the hogs to attack. Was it because Garner had fallen or gotten injured? Or was it something that triggered their aggressive instincts? One thing is clear, no matter how familiar or gentle an animal might seem, their behavior can change in an instant. Garner's tragic story leaves a chilling thought. If even farm animals raised with care can turn deadly, what happens when people try to tame wild creatures? The answer lies in the next tale, where a man's attempt to control an exotic predator ends in disaster. 5. East Texas, man killed by pet deer. In East Texas, Gerald Rushton learned the hard way why some animals just aren't meant to be pets. Rushton had a deep love for raising exotic animals, and one of his prized possessions was a red stag deer, a beautiful but wild creature. Even though it's illegal to keep animals like this, he didn't let that stop him. Rushton cared for the deer every day, feeding it and treating it like part of the family. But one morning, everything went wrong. While Rushton was in the pen feeding the deer, it suddenly attacked. Using its sharp antlers, the deer brutally gored him. Rushton's family could only watch in horror as it all happened. When help arrived, it was too late. He had lost too much blood to survive. The aftermath wasn't just tragic for Rushton, but also for the animal. Deputies had no choice but to put the deer down. Experts later explained that red stags are highly unpredictable, especially during mating season when their territorial instincts kick in. This heartbreaking story shows just how dangerous it can be to keep wild animals as pets. No matter how beautiful or majestic they are, their instincts can take over in a heartbeat. But if you think that's unsettling, wait until you hear the next story. It's about a predator that doesn't need strength or antlers to kill, just stealth and the ability to strike without warning. 6. Gypsy the Burmese. Python strangled a toddler. In 2009, a Florida couple, Jaron Hare and Charles Darnell, made a choice they would regret for the rest of their lives. They owned a Burmese python named Gypsy, an 8-foot 6-inch snake that had been with them for years. Despite warnings from experts and family members, they refused to give up the snake, convinced it was harmless. But there was one major problem. Gypsy's tank wasn't secure. It was covered with a quilt instead of a proper lid. One night, the snake escaped from its enclosure and slithered into the crib of Hare's 2-year-old daughter, Cheyenne. Starving and underweight, Gypsy mistook the little girl for food. By the time the couple realized what had happened, it was already too late. This horrifying tragedy shocked the entire country. In court, the couple tried to argue that Gypsy was a gentle snake, but the jury didn't buy it. Both Hare and Darnell were found guilty of third-degree murder, manslaughter, and child neglect. They were sentenced to 12 years in prison each. The story of Gypsy is a chilling reminder of just how risky it is to keep exotic pets. The couple's refusal to see the danger in keeping a predator cost them everything, and worse, it cost an innocent child her life. Just when the story of Gypsy the python seemed like the ultimate wild animal horror, another tale shows how things can go even more wrong, this time with a grizzly bear. 7. Bear mauls trainer to death during stunt. In 2008, Stephen Miller, a skilled animal trainer, was working with Rocky, a bear famous for appearing in Hollywood movies like The Gladiator and The Last Samurai. The two were filming a staged wrestling match for a promotional video at the Predators in Action facility. But what started as a well-rehearsed stunt turned into a nightmare. Out of nowhere, Rocky, a massive bear weighing hundreds of pounds, became confused and stopped following his training. Instead of performing his usual moves, the bear suddenly attacked Miller. He lunged, sinking his teeth into Miller's neck and pinning him to the ground. The attack was quick and deadly. Despite efforts to save him, Miller died from his injuries. The tragedy shocked the entertainment world and put a spotlight on the risks of working with wild animals, even ones that seem well-trained. Predators in Action, a facility known for recreating animal attacks in films and documentaries, faced heavy criticism after the incident. However, Rocky wasn't blamed. The bear's instincts had simply taken over under stress. Years later, the video of the attack resurfaced on the 14th anniversary. serving as a chilling reminder of the dangers of using wild animals for entertainment. Randy Miller, the owner of the facility, later admitted, "We put ourselves in vulnerable positions a lot," a statement that says it all about the risks of working with unpredictable creatures. If Stephen Miller's tragic story teaches one thing, it's that no matter how much training an animal gets, its wild instincts are never fully gone. But as shocking as this is, the next story is even stranger. It involves a creature most wouldn't consider dangerous, a family pet that turned into an unimaginable predator. 8. Ferret bites off infant's fingers. Some stories are so unbelievable they leave you speechless. That's exactly what happened in Grain Valley, Missouri, when a family's pet ferret attacked a 4-month-old baby. What unfolded that day horrified the entire community. On January 10th, the baby's parents, Ryan and Carrie Waldo, claimed they were asleep when they suddenly woke to the sound of their baby screaming. Rushing to check, they found a gruesome scene. The family's ferret had bitten off 7 of the infant's fingers, all the way down to the knuckles. But the horror didn't end there. Investigators soon discovered that the parents weren't even home when it happened. GPS records showed they'd been texting each other from different locations while their baby was left alone. The Waldos initially said the ferret had no history of biting, but that wasn't true. A ferret rescue worker and other witnesses revealed the animal had bitten the baby twice before. The couple had even talked about getting rid of it, but decided to keep it. Tragically, that decision had devastating consequences. After finding the baby injured, Ryan Waldo reportedly killed the ferret in anger. The baby had to undergo emergency surgery to amputate what was left of the fingers, and was later placed in protective custody along with a sibling. Authorities charged the parents with child endangerment. This jaw-dropping story shows that even small pets can pose serious dangers, especially when owners ignore warning signs. But if you think this is unsettling, the next tale takes us to a petting zoo where chaos erupts, and a camel ends up claiming 2 lives. 9. Camel kills 2 petting zoo workers. In a shocking and tragic incident, a camel at a petting zoo in Obion County, Tennessee, broke out of its enclosure and went on a violent rampage, killing 2 workers. The horrifying event took place one afternoon at Shirley Farms on South Bluff Road. Emergency responders were called after the camel escaped and began attacking anyone nearby. When deputies arrived, they found 2 men lying unconscious on the ground, but rescuing them wasn't easy. The camel was still aggressive and wouldn't back down. It even attacked a sheriff's vehicle and charged the deputies who were trying to reach the victims. Sadly, the 2 workers, Bobby Metheny and Tommy Gunn, died from their injuries at the scene. The incident led to questions about how the animals were cared for at the petting zoo. Previous inspections by the U.S. Department of Agriculture had flagged serious issues at Shirley Farms. Reports showed that camels and other animals didn't have proper access to clean water, relying instead on a muddy creek. Safety barriers were also inadequate, putting both visitors and workers at risk. This tragic event shows just how dangerous large animals can be when they're not handled or cared for properly. It also highlights the risks people face when safety measures aren't taken seriously. As disturbing as this story is, the next one takes things to a new level of horror. This time, it's about a chimpanzee attack that left someone's life changed forever. 10. Chimp attack survivor. The story of Travis the chimpanzee is one of the most terrifying animal attacks ever recorded. In February 2009, Travis, a 200-pound pet chimpanzee, turned violent and attacked Charla Nash, a friend of his owner, Sandra Harold, in Stamford, Connecticut. What started as a normal day quickly turned into a nightmare. Without any warning, Travis snapped during an interaction and launched a brutal attack on Charla. He tore off her nose, ears, and hands and left her permanently blind. Sandra desperately tried to stop the attack. She even stabbed Travis and called 911. When police arrived, the enraged chimpanzee charged at them and was shot dead on the spot. Charla Nash survived, but the injuries she suffered were life-changing. Her recovery involved multiple surgeries, including a groundbreaking face transplant. Despite everything, she became a symbol of strength and resilience, showing remarkable courage in the face of unimaginable challenges. The attack also sparked a nationwide debate about keeping exotic animals as pets. People questioned how such a powerful and unpredictable animal could be kept in a home environment. Sandra Harold, who had lost her husband and daughter before the incident, passed away in 2010 from a ruptured aneurysm, leaving behind a tragic legacy. This story is a haunting reminder of just how dangerous exotic pets can be. But wild animals aren't the only ones that can turn deadly. The next story involves a seemingly harmless pet that changed a young model's life forever. 11. Model shares lip transformation after dog attack. Brooklyn Corey was a rising star in the modeling world when her life changed in an instant. While visiting her cousin's Pitbull suddenly attacked, biting off her upper lip. The shocking event left her physically scarred and struggling to recognize herself in the mirror. The journey to recovery was nothing short of incredible. Over the next year, Corey went through 6 reconstructive surgeries with Dr. Nicholas Doe, a specialist who performed the delicate procedures. Using skin and nerves from her arm, Dr. Doe rebuilt her upper lip, step by step. Each surgery required precise skill and careful planning, with small victories along the way. Throughout this tough time, Corey didn't let her spirit waver. She documented her healing process, sharing it with the world to show her strength and inspire others facing challenges. Though the road was long and full of hardships, she found hope and courage in her transformation. Slowly but surely, she reclaimed her smile and embraced her new look. Corey's story is a powerful reminder of resilience and hope. But as inspiring as it is, the next story shows the dark side of keeping dangerous animals, where fascination turns into tragedy most heartbreakingly. 12. Czech man killed by Pete Lion. In a quiet Czech town, Mikl Prasek's obsession with lions turned into a deadly nightmare. Prasek kept a lion and a lioness in homemade cages in his backyard, despite being warned repeatedly by officials and neighbors. Even after being fined for illegal breeding and denied permits, he refused to give up his exotic pets. The situation took a tragic turn when Prasek was found dead in the lion's cage. The door was locked from the inside, leaving no doubt that he'd entered willingly. When police arrived, they had no choice but to shoot both animals to recover his body. Prasek's actions had been controversial for years. Despite growing concerns from locals and authorities, Prasek remained defiant, ignoring the risks of living so closely with wild predators. His death serves as a stark warning about the dangers of keeping powerful animals in captivity without proper safeguards. While it's easy to be captivated by their beauty and strength, these creatures are still ruled by instincts that can turn deadly in an instant. The shocking story of a man's fatal encounter with his pet lion raised serious questions about keeping dangerous animals. But the risks don't end there. Even animals we consider loyal and loving can sometimes cause devastating harm. Let's look at another tragic case, this one involving a pit bull in Lucknow that shows how unpredictable even trusted pets can be. 13. Old woman killed by her pet, pit bull. In a peaceful neighborhood in Kaiserbog, Lucknow, an unimaginable tragedy unfolded early on a Tuesday morning. Savitri, an 80-year-old retired teacher, was attacked and killed by her pet pit bull, a dog she had raised and trusted as her companion. The calm of the morning was shattered by the sound of her screams and the aggressive barking of the dog. Her son, Himanshu, had left the house for his regular morning gym session, leaving Savitri alone with the dog. By 6 a.m., neighbors heard the commotion and rushed to help, but the doors were locked. Inside, Savitri was lying in a pool of blood, gravely injured. When Himanshu returned home and managed to get inside with the neighbors, they quickly rushed her to the hospital. Despite the best efforts of doctors, Savitri's injuries were too severe to survive. The pit bull had inflicted deep wounds from her neck down to her legs, causing fatal blood loss. The attack shocked the entire community and sparked heated debates about the risks of keeping powerful dog breeds like pit bulls. Neighbors were left questioning how such a tragedy could happen. Savitri had cared for the dog as a beloved pet, yet it turned on her with devastating consequences. Could this have been avoided, or was it a disaster waiting to happen? This heartbreaking incident reminds us of the unpredictable nature of animals, even those we love and trust. While the people of Lucknow mourn the loss of Savitri, another chilling story about a pet snake in Pennsylvania shows how the dangers of exotic pets can lead to equally tragic outcomes. 14. Pet snake fatally strangles owner. In Upper Macungie Township, Pennsylvania, a terrifying incident involving an 18-foot pet snake left a community shaken. Elliot Sensman, a 27-year-old snake owner, was fatally attacked by his boa constrictor-like pet in his own home. When officers arrived at the scene, they found Sensman lying unresponsive on the floor with the massive snake coiled tightly around his neck. Acting quickly, one officer shot the snake in the head, forcing it to release its grip. Sensman was rushed to the hospital, but the damage had already been done. The snake's powerful constriction had cut off oxygen to his brain, leaving him with an anoxic brain injury that ultimately took his life. The scene was described as chaotic and horrifying. Details about how the attack started remain unclear, leaving many questions unanswered. Snake attacks like this are extremely rare, making this case even more disturbing. 15. Lion attack. In Central California, a heartbreaking tragedy took place at a private animal park when a 24-year-old intern, Diana Hansen, was killed in a lion attack. Diana had always been passionate about big cats, and she dreamed of working closely with them. Sadly, that dream ended in the most devastating way when a 550-pound lion named Couscous escaped its feeding cage and attacked her. The incident happened while Diana was cleaning a larger enclosure, thinking the lion was safely locked away. However, investigators later found that the cage door had been left partially open. This allowed Couscous to push it open with his powerful paw and break free. Just moments before the attack, Diana had been talking on the phone with a coworker. The call ended abruptly, which raised alarm bells for the coworker, who quickly contacted authorities. Unfortunately, by the time help arrived, it was too late. Couscous had delivered a fatal blow that broke Diana's neck, killing her instantly. Her father, Paul Hansen, later spoke about her deep love and fearless devotion to big cats. He described Diana as someone who truly lived for her passion, even though it came with risks. Her social media accounts were full of pictures of her, with tigers and other exotic animals, showing just how much she loved wildlife. This tragic event sparked serious discussions about safety at facilities that house dangerous animals. Were the protocols strong enough? Was enough being done to protect both the animals and the people who worked with them? It also raised questions about the ethics of keeping such powerful creatures in enclosures designed by humans. Diana's story is a painful reminder of the risks involved when humans interact with wild animals, even in controlled environments. It's a chilling reminder that even the animals we think we know best can surprise us in the most terrifying ways. Which story shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unexpected, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping stories like this. And hey, while you're here, check out our other videos. We've got more wild tales that'll leave you speechless. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.